such a huge part of Oz's story.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was fantastic, and I do definitely remember that first day where you guys were just shitting on poor Victor there, and it's the first scene we ever shot. It was, yeah, you guys were just having a ball. But it kind of immediately gave me this sort of understanding of these different dynamics, especially the first 3 episodes. I mean, that's one of the gifts that Lauren gave me on this thing, was just this arc of this character and how much his relationship with both of these people grow, with both Francis and Oz, how different it is from when they first meet to when, by the episode 8. And so, as our relationships grew, even in real life, I feel like Victor also found a sort of, family. So, and I agree the fact that, like, some people say, like, oh, was it ever real between him? And I always felt like there was something special between Oz and Victor. Maybe that's actually the reason why, the episode 8 had to happen from Oz's perspective. But still probably should have let the kid go. But I think that definitely, I think there was something real, and I think as our relationships grew, so did the character. So it was actually kind of really special.
Absolutely. Lauren, I mean, can you talk a little about how much of the arcs they were given ahead of time? Were you, and as actors, do you guys want to get the whole arc from start to finish, and do you want to give that from the beginning?
Well, I want to give the actors whatever they're interested in receiving, and every actor can be different with that. I mean, Colin and I spoke really early on. I pitched him sort of the emotional shape, I think, of Oz and sort of where the show was going. And then when I finally got the opportunity to meet Dee Dee, we sat down for a really long time and kind of broke down, Francis's Lewy body dementia, and I took her through what her evolution would be into the flashbacks that we ended up doing. And same with RHENZY. I mean, the first day I sat with RHENZY, I do feel bad about this still, that I told him his end. And I just like ripped that Band-Aid off.
I didn't even see, I liked it. When you told me, I was like, oh yeah, this would be good. Because I also knew, it's a limited series, like what do we, this is like the most.
You weren't feeling that when we shot it. Yeah, I got very sour that night.
The feelings were real, but in theory, I was like, oh, this is great.
Same here. I remember hearing that and I was like, oh, that's a bold choice, that's going to be amazing. And then we got to it and I loved you so much, just as a man, RHENZY, and then as
I remember learning about it. Yeah, you're right. You did tell me on the very first day that we met. You were like, yeah, so episode 8, done.
I know, it's brutal. But I really love digging into characters' backstories, and I came in knowing their emotional arcs for the shape of the season. I felt like for me as a writer, it's really important for me to know that, and then to be able to share and offer whatever is helpful to our actors, and then let them free and do what they do, which is so exceptional.
Absolutely. As actors, do you guys want to get everything ahead of time? Because like Lauren said, I mean, I know it is a different decision for everyone. Some people want to have the whole arc ahead of them.
Oh, I loved having that. I had signed on to do it. I think they only let me read like 3 episodes. So I understood the basic setup of what the relationship was like and what kind of person the lady was. But when Lauren sat down with me and sat for an hour and a half telling me the story of Francis and Oz, I kind of thought she was kidding. I remember saying to you, really? Really? I'm gonna get all that? I just felt like I had just been handed the most delicious banquet. And I had been very happy with the, really good steak dinner that I thought I was gonna get to have. And then this banquet, and I do remember like laughing at one point and saying, like, you're actually kidding. This isn't all gonna get to happen. And she's like, no, this is what's gonna get to happen. And it was amazing to have it have the kind of trope of, the mother who's withholding flipped on its side, so that, from where I sit, that by the end you understand that actually she's doing as good a job as she possibly could, loving this man and loving this boy in the face of what she knows about him and the crisis that she faced kind of thinking that she had spawned the devil in many ways. And what do you do when that happens? You know.
Get him some psychological support.
And so to have it turn like that, I don't know. I had never quite gotten to get underneath something and then have it flip on its side that way. I loved knowing the whole story, but I was in shock. I did feel like I can't believe my good fortune.
Colin, do you like getting the whole story ahead of time?
Yeah, it's grand. And if you don't, as well, I've worked both ways, and I'm kind of suspicious of what I like. I'm wary of saying I'd like to do it this way, I'd like to do it that way. I think part of the fun in what we do is that oftentimes you go to work and you're at the whim of the style and the kind of process of whatever the director is or the showrunner is that you're working with. So I'm okay kind of going with what whoever I'm working with at any particular time wants to do. I mean, I knew as well, I think I read the first 3 episodes when we started shooting and the rest came in, but I knew from Lauren's pitch that it was going to be extraordinary. At least I felt very deeply that what she was doing was going to be extraordinary. So I was cool with it, yeah.
Lauren, can you talk a little bit about the process of finding humanity in villainous characters? Because that's something that, I mean, I think that's, every character has so much layers in most good TV, but this specifically, there's a lot of these characters who make not so great choices, but you still find this humanity within them. So can you talk about that process and what you guys talked about in the writer's room and what you kind of discussed to create that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I just think it's about, as a writer, leading with empathy for every character, because I imagine as an actor, you have to find that empathy for what they're doing, no matter their actions, right? Everybody has their reasons for it. Everyone has their own rationale for why they do what they're doing, and no one thinks of themselves as a villain, I think. So, you know, for me, in exploring Oz in the beginning, certainly, I had to emotionally connect with him for me to be able to write him. And so it helped me to have him come from a poorer family, that he's striving for something, that he wasn't gifted anything out of the gate, and really view him as an outsider type of character. It was easier for me as a writer to connect with somebody like that. And I felt like throughout, and what we talked about a lot in the room, is that what Oz speaks to Victor about often, and anybody, is there's always honesty in it. There's actually a lot that he says about how unfair the world is that I think so many of us can feel and relate to. And so it's important, you know, for us to be able to lean in with him and not feel like we're repelled by him, but to understand him and empathize. And same with all of our characters. You know, I'm a big fan of perspective. I think perspective matters a lot. So the first episode, we're starting through the lens of Oz. It's always through him, except for one moment when we jump to Sophia finding Alberto in the trunk. And then we start to play with perspective. The second episode starts with Sophia. The third episode starts with Victor. You know, obviously the fourth episode is focused primarily on Sophia and her backstory, because I think we come in thinking we know who this woman is, because Oz presumes she's insane and these men are unsettled by her. So we're putting our own labels on her. And I think it's always fun to sort of make us all feel complicit in that, in a way, and start to unravel a character. Obviously Frances, by the end, in 7 and 8, you suddenly realize, as what Dee Dee was saying, why she seems withholding, how much of a struggle this has been for her. But so it starts on the page, it starts being aware of that in terms of building character, but then I think the reason people feel the humanity they do for all of our characters is truly the acting. I mean, the performances, the heart and the grit and the pain that every one of our actors has brought is so magical to see. It's so real, that they're the reason why we're all feeling what we feel for the characters, whether it's, you know, we're siding with them or we're disgusted by them.
Absolutely. Tapping into the mindset of these characters. Colin, for you, was it kind of after the very long process of sitting